Karen stormed down the dock, screaming at my friends to get off the water. She thought the lake was hers, just like she thought she owned the entire neighborhood. But when I told her the truth, that it was my private land, her face froze. And her nightmare had only begun. The sun was high, the lake shimmered like glass, and laughter echoed off the dock. My friends were grilling, the kids were splashing in the shallows, and for once, life felt simple. This lake wasn't just water to us, it was freedom, a place where worries sank beneath the ripples. Then came the sound that shattered the peace. Get off the lake. Now. Karen stormed down the dock like she owned it, heels clacking against the wood, sunglasses perched on her face like a crown. Her voice cut through the laughter, sharp enough to silence everyone in an instant. She pointed at my guests. The HOA doesn't allow unauthorized people here. You can't just invite anyone onto our lake. The kids froze. My friends looked at me, unsure whether to pack up or push back. I stood slowly, met her glare, and said calmly, Karen, this is my private land. My lake. You don't make the rules here. Her face twitched. For the briefest second, she looked caught, like someone had just yanked the crown off her head. But Karen wasn't about to back down. She adjusted her sunglasses, squared her shoulders, and doubled down. And that was just the beginning. This land wasn't just a patch of dirt with a lake. It was my family's history, my inheritance, and my responsibility. My grandfather bought it after returning from the war. My father spent his life tending it, building the dock with his own hands, and teaching me to fish in those quiet mornings. Every summer of my childhood lived here. Sunburnt noses, campfires by the water, cousins racing to see who could jump the farthest off the dock. The lake was more than property. It was memory made tangible. When my father passed, the land became mine. But with it came a promise to protect it, to make sure my children could build their own memories here, just like I did. So when Karen marched in, acting like the lake belonged to her HOA kingdom, she wasn't just trespassing. She was threatening a legacy. And if there's one thing I've learned, you don't mess with family, and you don't mess with history. Karen thought she could bully me into submission. What she didn't realize is that I was willing to fight harder than she could ever imagine. Karen Hartwell, self-appointed queen of the HOA. If you lived within a mile of her, you knew her name, and you probably dreaded seeing it pop up on your phone. She wasn't elected president of the HOA. She seized the role like a throne. Every letter she sent, every fine she imposed, every meeting she chaired, it all carried the same smug undercurrent. I own you. From the start, she hated me. My dock was unsightly. My fishing boat was an eyesore. My guests, unauthorized. She acted like the lake was community property, even though the deed clearly marked it as mine. Her weapon wasn't just words. It was pressure. She'd corner neighbors at HOA meetings, guilt them, bully them, threaten to fine them for violations they didn't even commit. And the worst part, most people gave in. It was easier to bend than to fight. That's how Karen stayed in power. But me? I wasn't about to bow. When she declared the lake off limits to anyone not on her approved list, I laughed in her face. That laugh is what she couldn't forgive. Because bullies like Karen don't hate rules. They hate resistance. And I had just become her enemy number one. It started small, almost petty. A letter taped to my door. Dock not up to HOA standards. Remove immediately. Then came the fake rules posted at the end of the dock, complete with her signature at the bottom. Rules she invented. Rules that carried no legal weight. Next, the county inspector showed up at my door. We've had reports of environmental violations, he said apologetically. Someone claims you're polluting the lake. He looked embarrassed, because even he knew the claims were bogus. Every week brought something new. Threats of fines. HOA letters accusing me of breaking curfew on the lake. Complaints that my guests were loitering. She even walked up to my friends one Saturday and demanded IDs, like she was a security guard. My buddy Dave almost laughed in her face, but the kids looked so scared I had to step in before things escalated. Karen wasn't just being annoying anymore. She was trying to break me down, to make it so exhausting to enjoy my own land that I'd give in. But here's the thing. Karen didn't realize that the more she pushed, the stronger my resolve became. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. So instead of reacting, I started planning. And soon enough, she was going to regret ever stepping onto my dock. Section 5. Gathering proof and allies, 200 words. I dug out the old property deeds, the ones my father had kept in a safe box. Clear as day, they showed my family owned not just the lakefront, but the water itself. HOA had zero authority. Just to be sure, I took them to a lawyer. He smiled, tapped the paper, and said, "This lake is yours. Period. HOA can't touch it." That's when I realized I had the upper hand. Neighbors started coming forward too. Harold, who Karen fined for having too many flowers in his yard. Tina, whose teenage son got threatened for playing basketball too late at night. Everyone had a story of being bullied. Together, we started documenting everything. Every fake rule Karen posted. Every time she screamed at guests. Every bogus complaint. I wasn't just preparing to defend myself. I was building a case that would topple her from her throne. And the more evidence I gathered, the more desperate she became. Karen called a special HOA meeting. The agenda? My lake. She stood at the front of the room, arms folded, chin high. "This dock is illegal," she declared. "This lake is community property. We must vote to restrict access and fine anyone who violates the rules." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some nodded nervously, others just stared. Then I stood, calm, collected. I walked to the front and placed the property deed on the table. "This," I said, "is my land. This is my lake. You have no authority here." The room went silent. Karen's face drained of color, then flushed red with fury. She sputtered, tried to argue, but the paper spoke louder than she ever could. The HOA board exchanged nervous glances. Some whispered. A few even smirked. Karen wasn't defeated yet, but she was shaken. And that's when I knew she was about to make her biggest mistake yet. It happened on a Saturday afternoon. My friends were back on the dock, kids splashing, laughter carrying over the water. That's when Karen appeared again, but this time, she wasn't alone. She marched down with 2 HOA enforcers, clipboard in hand, ready to play judge, jury, and executioner. "This gathering is unauthorized," she shouted. "You are in violation of HOA rules. Leave immediately or face fines." I didn't move. Instead, I raised my hand. "Not today, Karen." Because standing right behind me was Sheriff Daniels, a longtime family friend. In his hand, the property deed, notarized and sealed. "Ma'am," the sheriff said firmly, "this is private land. You're trespassing. If you don't step back, you'll be removed." Karen froze. The enforcers looked at each other, suddenly unsure. Neighbors had gathered, drawn by the shouting. They watched as Karen's power crumbled in real time. Her lips trembled. She tried to argue, but no words came out. The sheriff leaned in. "Enough. Step back." And for the first time, Karen obeyed. After that day, Karen's reign ended. The HOA board held a vote. With overwhelming support, she was removed as president. Neighbors finally felt free again. No more surprise fines. No more threats. No more intimidation. The lake returned to what it had always been. A place of peace, family, and community. I secured legal protections, filing paperwork to make sure no future HOA could ever claim authority over my land. The lake was untouchable. As for Karen, she couldn't even show her face without whispers following her. She faded into the background, her crown broken, her power gone. Standing on the dock one quiet evening, I watched the sun set over the water. The lake shimmered, just like it had when I was a kid. Karen thought she could take it from me. But in the end, she lost everything, while I held on to the one thing she could never touch, my legacy.